Welcome to the Scare Guys Show, the BrotherCon podcast to the Con Guys Show, where we just kind of celebrate everything in our fandoms. And Scare Guy, we kind of go a little bit on the darker side. We call it the scarier side of the Con Guy. My name is James D. Fry. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. And I'll introduce our special guest in just 1 second, but we're gonna go over to the far side up in the top row. Cheeseman.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Cheeseman, one of the founding members of the Scare Guy, screenwriter, and yeah, excited to talk Halloween for the second time, but with some new people.
With some people who know what they're talking about. All right, down on the bottom, one of our frequent hosts, Jake Jerley. Welcome.
Hey guys, how you doing? Yep, Jake from Ohio, here to talk about Halloween. I hope everyone was able to get their McDonald's buckets this past week. I called enough McDonald's that they all, I'm sure every single one around here hates me. So,
well, since you brought the buckets up, I know that our first special guest tonight, Mr. Anthony Massey, is it Anthony or Tony?
You know what? If you're my friend, you can call me Tony. No, just kidding. Just call me Anthony. Just call me Anthony.
All right, we're calling Anthony tonight. Anthony, this is Mr. Anthony Massey, who we are so excited to have on the show with us again tonight. He's been on a couple of times before. Anthony Massey, he is the main force behind Massey Media. They produce some really cool fan documentaries and things coming out. For example, hey, Anthony, tell us a little bit about your descent into horror with some of the cool stuff we're looking at right now for those of you watching.
Yeah, my company, we started with 25 Years of Terror, and it's the I believe the only feature documentary to cover all the movies up to Rob Zombie's movies. Mm-hmm. They're just these retros. His name is Jason, Friday the 13th, Scream, Psycho. We've done a bunch of them. And so that's pretty much what my company is known for, although I do a lot of production stuff.
Yeah, and you've also done some cool big events too.
Yeah, we're event planners. We did a couple of events at the house used in the movie Scream. So Stu's house, we did 2 parties. Scream Comes Home, and then we did Screamoween, and they're just an excuse to just party there and drink all night, and and all that. But it's fun. There's sleepovers, and if you've ever been to a movie location, it's like a theme. It's amazing. Like you feel like you're in the movie. And those 2 events were great because they were all nighters and all Scream fans. That was another thing. Just crying, walking into the kitchen for the first time. It was great. It was really great to put those events on.
That's awesome. Another event that you did here in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles area, is where I met David and his brother Michael, and we'll introduce David in just a second, was the double feature for Halloween and Halloween 2, the Lost River Drive-In. I should have wore the shirt. I have it was before the pandemic.
Oh, very cool. Well, I have the popcorn box over here on my TV. I don't know if you can see. Right. Wait.
Let me. Let's.
That's the Lost River Drive.
Okay. Oh, I see it. We can see it back there in the corner.
Yeah. Right. So anybody who's so I'm a Halloween 2 fan. Hello, surprise.
There it is. There's the box.
Right, there it is. Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, that makes me so happy right now. Oh my God. Yeah. So basically, in a nutshell, I know we're not talking about this all night, but like you showed it was before the pandemic. Drive-ins were on the way out. Nobody wanted to go to a drive-in. My friend Matt called me and said they mentioned the Lost River Drive-In in Halloween 2. Let's do an event. And so we set up a double feature, and we did all the people that worked there wore Lost River Drive-In t-shirts. It was really great. And David here created one of my most prized possessions, and that's the Lost River Drive-In poster. I don't know if you have a graphic. Do you have a graphic of that or no?
I can grab that, David. If you want to send that over to me, I will show that tonight. Oh wait, Anthony's going to go grab. He's going to go grab it.
But literally taking it right off the wall. I couldn't believe I was presented with this.
Oh, that's awesome! Yes, that's so cool.
Wow.
It's this like conceptual, picture of what Michael looked like by the Lost River Drive-In. And in the movie, Julie, remember, it's like the nurse Janet says, "Oh, my friend Julie says that somebody
saw it last night."
And they're like, "Oh, well," Leo Rossi's like, "Well, he's a freaking liar because whatever." But still, that's Michael by the Lost River Drive-In, and
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And so I just, this is one thing I absolutely love.
Julie's full of sugar. Right?
Exactly.
And real quick before we jump over to David and Michael, could you tell us about, you have a really cool project that's out now. Is this out now or about to come out?
It just came out a week or two ago. So, you know, my company does retrospectives, and this was the latest one on the Paranormal Activity movies. Did you know there are now 7 Paranormal Activity movies? They've made almost $1 billion. $1 billion. Paramount just came out with the Ultimate Chills collection, and it's like, you know, all 7 movies, and then our, oh my God, this is like QVC. This is like, and our Unknown Dimension, you know, documentary is on.
Wow.
Dude, congratulations!
Oh, perfect.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, and I didn't even know when I made the documentary that there were 6 movies. I was like, aren't there 4? You know, and my business partner Nate was like, no, there are 6, and there's no bonus features. So that's why we did it, because there were no behind the scenes. So we interview everybody from all the movies. It's really fun. So
nice.
so yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, we're gonna move over to our other special guest tonight. Let me do this. Let's pull him up right here. This is Mr. David Burk, his brother Michael, and they are the people behind the Halloween Sister Trilogy brand, which is very cool. I'm going to pull this up right here. If you guys get a chance, check them out on social media. Check them out. They do an amazing artwork. Can you guys tell us a little bit about the Sister Trilogy before we jump in?
Oh, it's something I started way back in the MySpace days, where at the time that I started it, there was just basically the same 10 photographs of Halloween that is all you could find on the internet. And I just started making original artwork to give the world something new of Halloween. And I now it's got like a whole bunch of memes and just a whole bunch of Halloween content.
Very cool. I love it, and I love that what you're doing right now, the countdown to Halloween, where every day there's a brand new piece of artwork with, you know, 8 days to Halloween, 7 days, 6 days. It's really cool.
Yeah, there's so much, you know, that's on it now. I can't even remember.
All right. And we have something else from you that you did create, and it's out there right now. We're going to talk about that in just a second as we start talking about the film. But let's go ahead and jump into what we are all here to talk about tonight. And that, of course, is the film Halloween Ends, which is the concluding chapter of the trilogy, David Gordon Green's chapter. Well, before we go, guys, we got to say, for those watching this live, happy 44th birthday to the original classic, John Carpenter's Halloween, which premiered on this day in 1978. We revere that film, and it's the huge reason why we are all here tonight. We can't let that go by. This is the birthday of that film, which came out, and beyond, in all honesty, it's the reason I like the holiday Halloween. It changed the holiday for me. It is now my favorite holiday. Sorry, Mom, but all right. And before we start, I just want everybody to know that we're all huge fans of the Halloween franchise, and we're going to have a discussion. We're going to have disagreements, but we also will go out of here and have a beer together if we were all together. We're all across the country. But when we discuss what we like and what we don't like, it's the furthest thing from toxic. Guys, we love this franchise. We want to see it continue. We want to see it. People love it. But we have thoughts. About it. And it was funny. I was talking with Anthony, and Anthony goes, I have a lot to say. So I can't wait. All right.
We all do. So
as a little bit of introduction, after Michael Meyers returns to terrorize Haddonfield in 2018's Halloween by director David Gordon Green, he continues his rampage in 2021's Halloween Kills. Sadly, the title of that 2021 film was not the worst part of the film, as the body count climbed and the fear and anger, my own opinion, and the fear and anger toward Haddonfield's homegrown killer turned the townspeople into an out-of-control mob led by none other than Tommy Doyle, the little boy who hung out with Lindsay and babysitter Laurie Strode in the original Halloween in 1978. This time, Tommy is played by Anthony Michael Hall. We actually have a picture here. Who was that son of Monster Palooza last weekend? That's Luke sitting there talking to me, getting an autograph, which was kind of cool. All right.
And he really liked the film. He spoke very highly of it and being a part of it. He was just excited that it could be part of the Halloween franchise, and he really liked how it turned out. So
Yeah.
Spoiler, he didn't seem to like, oh, my character died, and seem like super disappointed, but he liked what they did. But I'm sure he would like to do more.
Yeah.
Had he had that opportunity.
Well, Tommy was joined by the original Lindsay herself, Real Housewife Kyle Richards, and of course, Dr. Loomis's nurse from the mental hospital, Marion, played by Nancy Stevens, which brings us to 2022's final film of the trilogy, Halloween Ends, which features a much anticipated final showdown between Jamie Lee Curtis's original final girl, Laurie Strode, Laurie, and the man who has haunted her footsteps and minds for 44 years, Michael Meyers. All right, this is how we're going to start, guys. My former writing mentor, Luke and I are screenwriters. I know that we got a lot of creative folks in the group. And Jack Gilbert, who ran the Warner Brothers workshop for so many years and got so many people into Hollywood, his workshops were run like this. The first thing you say about a script or a film is called the circle of love. So I'm going to ask everybody here, tell me something about this film, because I don't yet know everybody. By the way, I want folks to know we haven't discussed this film yet. I kind of think I know where people stand, but we haven't fully discussed it. But let's start real quick. We'll start with Jake. Tell me something about this film that you appreciated, something that you liked.
Okay. Well,
No pressure.
yeah.
Wow.
I'll get it out of the way. I didn't love this movie. I'm not a big
now you're
lover of the
changing.
film. No, but I don't think it's as bad as the rap it's getting now. Something I like about it, it's also something that people are complaining about, is that they went in a different direction. They tried something new. I think that was a kind of a bold thing. We'll get into it, obviously. Like, was that the right decision? Probably not. But I guess at the end of the day, when I watch a movie, it's just really if it keeps my attention. And I felt this movie kept my attention way more than Halloween Kills, which I thought was just they doubled down on the violence and made it super brutal and everything. This one, they were telling a story, and they're introducing a new character, but again, we'll get into that.
Right.
But just the fact that there was like
They did that in a Halloween movie?
Yeah. But I was watching and I was like, like this is interesting. I want to see where they're going with this, So that was something that I liked about it.
Cool. Anthony, Tony, you're my friend. Hey, something that you appreciated about this movie, or something that you did like.
Well, I mean, I love Jamie Lee in it. I thought she did a phenomenal job. I was really behind her in this movie. I didn't think, like the original Halloween 2, she didn't have much to do in Kills, but I really loved her in this movie. I thought that's something and I've seen it like 4 or 5 times already, and every time I watch it, I just kind of feel like she's so good in it. She really gave her all, and so I love Jamie in it for sure.
I like her so much better in this one than I did the 2018. I really do.
Agree. I totally agree. Me too. I feel the same way.
All right, Luke, we're gonna go to you, and then I know that the brothers have some good stuff to say. All right, Luke, what do you think?
I'm with Anthony on this. The thing I liked the most was, Jamie Lee, doing the Laurie Strode. And the thing about her playing Laurie Strode, I like that she felt more like Jamie Lee in that she had a little more personality. She was very kind of like heavy in the first film and pretty much the second one, but she had a little bit more of that Jamie Lee Curtis personality that we loved here in this final film.
All right, let's go down to the Burke brothers. I'm really curious. A high level thing, because we'll get into it. I know, spoiler alert, you guys kind of liked the film, so we're going to actually get a little bit deeper into that. But tell us something kind of like a simple thing that you guys liked about this film.
I can't start off simple without telling you a little backstory.
Okay.
Yeah, tell us.
Well, because the Sister Trilogy is my thing, when I first heard about this new version of it, 2018, where he was going to be a human, just a regular guy, I went through all my, whatever you call it, getting used to the idea way back then. And now I just look at it like it doesn't matter. It's like nothing can touch the Sister Trilogy. Nothing can touch anybody else's. Like if you like the Thorn Trilogy, I know they're not all trilogies, but all the rest of the films, he's supernatural. Even John Carpenter has said he's supernatural. If you get past that and you realize that David Gordon Green's new films, he actually states that he's human in his, then you realize that it's not our Michael, it's a different Michael. And now, so I'm disconnected from it. And to me, it's just like a trilogy of bonus features. It's just, so I'm able to break away and have fun with
it. Michael, do you have any opinion on this?
That's more or less like even the day that I went to go see it. I was never nervous about this new movie coming out because I wasn't actually that big of a fan of 2018. Like most people, it's always like, if you hold The Godfather at really high regard, then you might not like the second one as much, or you might like the one second one more. And it's like I didn't really hold 2018 at that high of a regard. I just thought it was kind of like the greatest hits Michael Myers, basically, to me, using the template of the original film, which is fine because you have to introduce the new kiddies to everything. Most of them are not going to go back and watch 1978, even if they're told they have to, And so the same thing, like you guys were talking about kills and stuff like that. I actually loved kills too. So I was just like, to me, Michael Myers is doing all the things I always knew he could do anyways, but everybody was like, they're turning him into Jason. And I'm like, they turned him into Jason in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, as far as I was concerned, which was dumbing down. But to me, I love Halloween 2. Yeah, everybody gets mad at too repetitive dialogue and Tommy Doyle and all that stuff, but I really don't care. There's a lot of stuff that I think it's too, to use an old word, too shrewd, to deny it to me, so this, I did have because all of us were hearing all the Corey stuff before it came out. And all of us had a version of where we thought the Corey stuff was going to go. And even then, the movie didn't take it to that place. And it was a shock, but at the same time, I was kind of like, you know what? We got, since these are supposed to be sequels to 78, we got 78. We got, reiterate everything to remind you of everything 40 years later. Then we got this Rampage, which we, all slasher fans and all Halloween fans should have actually adored anyways. But to me, this was like, what is the effect of that? What is the effect, not just on the characters we know, like Laurie or now Allison, but what is the effect of the town? And what is that effect on this kid also and stuff? Because he already knew about what had happened the year before, and and it was already the little kid that was antagonizing was even, knowing about it. So you're dealing with the ramifications of Michael. So to me, to jump ahead for a second, everybody's saying there's not enough Michael and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, to me, Michael is everywhere in the movie. That the essence of him, the feeling of him, the vibe of him, the boogeyman is out there is always prevalent in the movie to me. So, but I almost can't give it any bad review at all. There's a couple of things that everybody could probably agree on.
That's right. We'll give the bad reviews, so you don't have to.
But yeah, I like the character of Corey, and a lot of people are like, oh, he's annoying, or I don't like him, and I'm like, I'm coming from the perspective. Yeah. And I'll see, that's what I'm saying, is it's like everybody's they're real hateful and stuff and angry about it, but I actually don't mind that stuff. I think it's, it's fun to have fun with the idea of Corey. So like, even if we're making a joke about something that's spooky, like Michael Myers, something that's reminding us of Michael Myers. Now we're like, maybe it's Corey, and I'm like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with just having fun.
You said
like
something really
said, we have our trilogy. So now everything, like I said, the day it came out on Facebook before I saw it, everything else is gravy to me. So.
Yeah. What, Jake?
And you don't count what happened in Resurrection by doing that, right? Because I think that ending was great until Resurrection ruined it.
Actually, I like parts of Resurrection too.
So I'll be honest with you. Even though somebody was dissing on Part 6 earlier, and justifiably so, there's parts of that I really like. So I don't. There's not any of these films that I 100% hate. we'll talk about the ones that are come close. But we're going to jump over because I am dying to hear what Mr. Anthony Massey says. And by the way, I just want to let you know, when I put up the thing of Corey,
I love this. I love
think
that
it's
so much.
funny. I think that's been going around, and I just think that's great. All right, so we're going to switch gears just a little bit. Anthony, what's a different perspective, perhaps, of than what we've heard just now?
Well, all right. I've been trying to answer a couple of key questions, and one of them is, what is Laurie still doing there for you? I mean, when we left, okay, she locked herself in her house and created a booby traps in her house for 40 years, waiting for him to get out. But she knew where he was, right? So there was really, it was an irrational fear. It was like, well, he's locked away, but I know he's going to sort of come out and come after me. And then we kind of realized very quickly he has no interest in her. And then at the end of Kills, I love the ending of Kills. I love it. I can't wait because I love Jamie Lee's sort of narration over it, where she says, "You can't kill it with brute force. You can't close your eyes and pretend he's not there because he is." So they've established this, like they've done the impossible with the boogeyman, right? They've explained him without over-explaining him. Nobody really knows what's going on. It's all we know is that it's getting worse. It's getting worse, and it's back, and he's more powerful than ever. And if that means the more evil he gets, the more he kills or whatever, you're just kind of, your brain is scrambling to put some kind of narrative together. All we know is that this town is screwed, right? That's it. And then, 4 years later, he's in a tunnel somewhere. So I've been like, okay, why is he living in a tunnel? And why is Laurie still there? And I think I've figured out those answers. He's in the tunnel because they've established in Kills, all he wants to do is go home. That's it. He's just going home. Or don't they say that they pull out the map and like if you connect the dots where he's killing people, he's going home.
Yeah.
So I think they established somewhere the house is no longer there or something. Don't they demolish it?
Boy, that was quite a lame way to get rid of the Michael Myers house. We killed it. It's gone.
Right.
That was the worst ever.
Right. So I'm like, all right, well, if he's going home, if he's going home and there's no home, well then, okay, that the answer is why he's standing in a tunnel, which I think is still really it's not very scary, but let's be real, that's an answer. And the other thing is I think Laurie realized, because Hawkins told her, he's not coming after you. And she finally realized it was her imprisonment that was booby trapping the house. It was her tormenting herself. And so I think those two things, if I could there's no reason for her to think Michael would be coming after her. So she's decided to not lock the doors and bolt the windows. She's decided to just live her life without fear. And I think once I realized those things, I thought, okay, I understood. Those are two glaring mistakes, right? What the hell is he doing in a tunnel? What are you kidding me? But I think another thing that we have to acknowledge is they didn't plan the trilogy. That they've acknowledged. They've said the original.
That's what I heard,
right. And so part 2 and 3 were not even thought of. So there are fixing messes that they created, I think, in the first movie. I do want to say, though, if this movie ends was the first movie in the trilogy, remember Freddy versus Jason?
Right.
Both Freddy needed Jason needed Freddy to kind of bring that, nurture each other back into existence. They needed each other. And I kind of feel like that was this kind of story. The boogeyman, there needed a new boogeyman to bring the new one back to life and whatever. I think it's a really brilliant idea. Actually, it just doesn't feel like a Halloween movie, but I think I would have appreciated ends if it was the first movie in the trilogy where Laurie's living in town and then this other boogeyman, because of this unrelated accident, becomes the town's, everybody hates this boogeyman, and that sort of forces Michael back into existence. I think I would have appreciated the same story, just first. It just didn't feel like an ending. If you're you ever order a restaurant, a meal in a restaurant, and you're like, I got it. It's nothing like I expected. That's kind of, I think, the disappointment I think a lot of people had.
It's like getting your appetizers, getting the those bacon bits after you eat your meal. That's right.
We actually did talk about what you said we did a show where we talked a little bit about this on our last one. And we kind of mentioned that it just wasn't earned to bring this storyline in, but had they given this kind of 3-film arc, or you said, bringing the Corey thing in, because I'm sure there'd be copycat killers or some fandom type thing, and then building that in. But you don't do Halloween ends Michael's still out there, and then just go on some new storyline. You don't do a third Star Wars movie and then all right, now we're gonna randomly bring in the new characters and then not even get to the main characters till the end.
Yeah.
David Gordon.
It felt like a cheat. It felt like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it really felt like, I also read an article, Variety had an article that said the producers knew a lot of fans weren't going to like this. And my first reaction to that was, well, then why did you make it? Because like, it's almost like you're saying, we don't care the fans are going to like it or not. It's one thing to put your all in it and like Halloween 5 and like, you know, Michael was doing his thing and then still people didn't like it. That's different than saying, yeah, we know we're going to like bait and switch, or we know, like I turned, you know, in 45 minutes and said, what the hell's going on? And then I'm thinking, this is what they're doing. They're doing the Halloween 3. Isn't that what everybody did in the original Halloween 3? They went to it and didn't see Michael and went, where the fuck is Michael? And I think that there's definitely a Halloween 3 influence in this movie that
they use the font at the beginning, the same opening font.
That's what people were saying. By the way, Luke and I watched Halloween 3 last night just to prepare us that maybe we're missing something.
All right.
I don't think I was missing.
I was going to say, it didn't help. Right.
It didn't help. By the way, Anthony, what you just said, I haven't thought about that, but that makes a whole lot of sense, is that the movies seem out of order. This one was the first movie. I still don't think I would have loved it, but I would have appreciated it a whole lot more. It did not feel like the conclusion. When it is the final showdown between two characters we've loved for 44 years, let's not introduce this brand new character who looks like he's the beginning of a new thing. And actually, I wouldn't have minded that. Like if they had
I agree.
Again, if they had thought of through as a trilogy and Corey was in the first movie and he's throughout the movies. And just to recap a couple of things. Last week we had Natalie, who was on her show. She's a film producer, and one of her things was, she goes, how many executives read this script before it was produced? Because she's had to pitch and get money for films, and she goes, they knew this was not going to be the most well-received movie, and but what she said and what Luke was talking about is it didn't feel earned. The romance between Allison and Corey did not feel earned. The Corey becoming a psychotic killer in such a short amount of time did not feel earned. Everything just was so rushed, and it was like, let's try and get this done. We're telling this story. Oh, we have 10 minutes left. Let's bring Michael back. That's just kind of the way the movie felt to me.
And the whole Batman and Robin fighting scene, like what is going on? And then him.
Did you see the meme? Someone made a meme
so quickly.
A meme of what?
It was a meme of like Corey on his motorcycle, and he's like, this is how I imagine him and Michael getting around town, and like Michael's like riding behind him.
I saw that.
Put his arms around.
But I do have to come back to the Burk brothers. Your perspective was interesting. It's not that you didn't perceive this as part of the great original storyline. This is just extra stuff. You're like, cool, I'll take it. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and actually, I have a theory on. Were you talking about the fight, Luke, in the sewer?
Yeah. Where they were together in the room and both kind of almost.
Yeah, to me, if you watch really close, to me, Michael Myers, everything he does is based on a trick. I mean, he used to, he wore the sheet in the first one. He laid Annie out. There's just different things that he's done. I actually think that could be manipulation, because if you watch closely, it looks like when Corey goes into the tunnel, he's asleep standing up because he's got his head down. Yeah. And he suddenly lifts his head, and even when he's asleep, he still overpowered him. He pushed him down. I think that was kind of just a reflex. Then he thought of something, and then obviously Corey didn't kill him when he pushed him down, and yet he does the thing where he lays there for a while.
Yeah, the fake out.
Yeah, which he always does. And he sits up. And not only does he sit up, he slowly turns his head like, this is all part of my plan.
But I don't know.
It's a trick.
That's interesting. That is interesting. Like, Jet,
he doesn't want to kill him because he's still alive, and he lets him be around him. So
why does Michael Myers let Corey live?
What's that?
Why does Michael Myers let Corey live if he is killing everybody else that he encounters?
That's also, that's what I was about to say earlier, is that David Gordon Green has stated that he likes hearing everybody's theories, and so I think he left it up to our interpretation, deliberately. And so there's all sorts of different.
That's convenient.
Yeah.
What I took away from that scene is that there's something like he can sense something, and he's literally sees himself in his eyes, like he's looking at his eyes and he's seeing the reflection of himself. So it's like, this guy's like me. It doesn't make sense, no, but was it like an interesting idea? Like, yeah, okay,
Yeah, because I think he left it.
Well, when he
left
first grabbed him, there was that flash of images.
Yeah, it's like he touched him.
And then Michael kind of shook a little bit, like he was.
Yeah, even that, I think, I think that could have been. I mean, like I said, it could go either way. It could be that it actually is giving him some sort of realistic adrenaline, or it's giving him supernatural power. Like it's rejuvenating him again.
Yeah, because that's the thing is you got so many people have different theories. Are they thriving off each other at that moment? Is Michael feeling like something similar to him in the kid and feeding off of that? Or
there's
some
definitely like a they need each other for some, like the Freddy versus Jason thing. There's definitely the synergy of them together. Yeah,
have interpreted as that's the kid thinking he's about to die, kind of like Laurie does at the ending of the movie too. But that also brings into question to me, when Laurie is picturing all the stuff in her head, is that they're feeding off of each other? Because there's that moment when she's talking to Corey inside of the house of the parents of the kid that died, and he's sort of threatening her and trying to make her feel intimidated, and then she vanishes like Michael Myers, like she did in the first of the 2018.
Oh, I kind of love that scene.
Huh?
I loved Laurie being such a badass. I love that.
Yeah. So that's where that kicks in again. It's because all the way through it, she's looking worried and scared. And then suddenly she's, the knocking with the chair and all that kind of stuff. And that's where I almost like the kid's telling her, you should have kept looking in his eyes, because you might have more or less like you might have learned something if you kept looking in his eyes that night. Yeah. And then she disappears on him.
Let me just throw a couple comments up from Jonathan Wilkinson. Finally watched the rest of Halloween Ends and then that's all right. And then Lily, one of our best fans here, the Corey thing was not necessary. No sense in it. And for us to jump off a little bit more, here's the opening paragraph to the Hollywood Reporter's review of Halloween Ends. Okay. Is David Gordon Green trolling us? The director rescued John Carpenter's game-changing slasher classic from the dumpster of disposable sequels by going back to the core mythology in 2018's Halloween. He then sacrificed any goodwill that reboot earns by sidelining Jamie Lee Curtis and abandoning narrative coherence for random, unimaginative mayhem in 2021's witless Halloween Kills. In the last sentence, the conclusion of this trilogy, Halloween ends. The conclusion of the trilogy, Hollywood ends. Halloween. I can't say it. Which promises the final face-off between Laurie Strode and her psycho stalker Michael Myers, just seems to throw its hands in the air and surrender. So that's a pretty strong statement. So let's take it they didn't like it, but I have been kind of surprised, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised that everybody doesn't see things like me. A lot of people are coming to the defense of this, especially on subsequent viewings. Anthony, you've seen it like 4 or 5 times. I've watched it twice. I did not dislike it as much the second time, and I think it might be because I was prepared for what I was going to see. Yeah. What do you think, Anthony?
No, same thing happened to me. It went like it took a giant leap forward on the second viewing, because I was paying attention to all and there's like little things too, like the radio tower. There's this.
I never realized that. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, well, you can't help but think that, we're talking about metaphysical thing that nobody can explain. Nobody knows what Michael is, what drives him, and all of that. But then when you establish these themes of there's this darkness that Michael sees in Corey, and then nobody even knows what all of that is. And so you're thinking like, well, is this radio tower part of this frequency? They don't say it, and I think it would be a mistake to say the radio tower was carrying some evil frequency, but you just kind of put the pieces together and say there's something about this town that is causing this. I don't need those reasons. I think, Carpenter said it way back then. The moment you start to explain him is the moment it all falls apart. And so, but this is movie 13. You got to do something, and you can't be like, it's just Michael being Michael. I mean, and what do you do? So for me, I like the subtlety of it, but I mean, also, you remember the kill with the doctor and the nurse, like that scene in the pool and all that and everything. I had realized when I was watching, when she first comes out, go back and watch the movie. When she first comes out in the pool area, you see Corey stabbing the guy in the complete darkness. You see him,
yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And I just saw this movement and it's pitch black. And then you look and he's like wailing on him. And then she puts the light on. And I'm like, when on the repeated viewings, you see like, all the like fun stuff you might have missed before. But yeah, I tend to agree. I think that the like Allison fell in love like really quickly with Corey, and like it just felt like really that's what they're doing. So I don't know. I mean, like I by the way, I think Corey, I think the actor Rowan, I can't remember his last name, did an amazing job. I think he was really great in this movie.
Yeah.
I believed him. He had the right look. At least he didn't suck, because it would be awful if you're like, God, and they couldn't even find the right person. But I think that he did a great job. And I love that moment because I didn't understand what was happening when I first saw the movie. When she's looking out the window, Laurie's looking, she sees him standing there by the bush, like the clothesline in the first movie. I didn't realize that she was seeing Michael's darkness in this new person. And so when she's standing outside with Allison, that scene where like she's just kind of looking at him like terrified, and I'm like, what is going on? And she's just sensing this dark energy. So the metaphysical nature of Michael, you can't really escape. The moment he gets up and walks away in the first movie and vanishes into the night, sort of justifies everything Loomis has said until that point. He says, in a man, that part of him died years ago, whatever. It makes it all make sense, because he's basically saying, see, we shot him 6 times and he got up and walked away. So I think the struggle of the series has been always to explain how and why he's doing these things. Yeah. And that's where it all falls apart.
Well, even in part 2, like the original sequel, when they started to try to explain, he had written Samhain, like Samhain, yeah, however the ancient Irish cultic holiday on the chalkboard. And then he stabbed a picture on the desk. It's like they're trying to explain something there.
Right.
His motivation, his evil motivation. And I like that.
Do you think that works? But see, that works to me. It's like, what the hell does this mean? If you're always going, I don't know what it means. Yeah. I think that works. I think once you say, like in Halloween 6, like whenever the stars align, it's like whenever they appear, he appears. Like that's when you go, oh, okay. And I think that's the problem here. It's like there's something driving him, and
I have my theories, but I don't want to know. I don't want it explained.
Yeah,
let's talk about that for a second, because the original Halloween, the shape, he was the shape, and we're being led to believe by David Gordon Green, like, hey, in the original Halloween, he had no motives. It was just indiscriminate violence against people, and that was the scary part. And he tried to carry that out. And we were talking about this last night. And so when he encounters people, he just kills anyone indiscriminately. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's true. In the very first Halloween, he kills his sister. There was a reason behind that. And then he sees Laurie Strode at his doorstep first thing in the morning with Tommy Doyle. And the rest of the movie, he's stalking them and he's killing who gets in his way. So I don't consider that indiscriminate. It looked to me like not that it was a sister at that point until the 1980 redone movie for NBC, but at this point, he had a reason. He was stalking somebody. We don't know why, but so I kind of pushed back against David Gordon Green. Do we always have to say 3 names for him? I got the current director saying in the original movie it was indiscriminate. I don't believe that. I believe he always had, and that's my opinion, that he had a purpose for what he was doing. So that doesn't fly with me. I also don't like the fact, here's what's kind of ruined it for me. The first movie, everybody can say how much they loved it. I was not a giant fan, but I liked it a lot more than these two. The fact that Michael Myers was captured 10 seconds after we see that. Just really, so the whole terrifying thing of the first movie was, where is he now? Where could he be? He's anywhere.
And it's also why H2O works, because think about it. H2O did in like 84, 85 minutes what these three films did, right? The only difference was it's the Sister Trilogy, right? So it's like they're related, but she had every reason to be afraid.
Yes,
I love it. Yes, that's my favorite too. My timeline. I can watch those three movies and just be happy. So, but like, she was related. But what did she do? She changed her name. She's a functioning alcoholic. She managed to move on with her life, and he just freaking shows up. Like, that to me is like, if once you start answering like he lives in a tunnel, like it's just it's not scary. Those questions are still there. They're just not being addressed. And I think in these three movies, removing the sister thing, which I think was a really promising idea. I mean, the original movie, he's not related, and they just did that. They had to in part two. They had to do something. But they went there and they said, "Oh, he's been in prison. He's been been held captive for 40 years." That's where, like, when I heard that, I went, "Oh yeah, that's not the boogeyman." He was in the original movie, but he escapes, and now he's like out there. Putting him back in jail just makes him seem. Oh, that's another problem I have with the series is they always say he's the boogeyman when it's convenient, but he's a human when it's convenient, and it goes right back and forth. And for me, that was my problem with the first movie. They never clarify in Jamie Lee's first scene with those bloggers or whatever. She says, you don't believe in the boogeyman? You should. And then the next sentence, she's like, but he's just a man. And you're like, well, what is he? At least Loomis had the courage of his, this isn't a man, I think the messaging was just so blurry out these three movies. There was no clear perspective on any of the characters, any of them.
I think that going back to the Sister Trilogy, I think that a lot of people were disappointed with the final climactic encounter with Laurie and Michael in this movie. And I think a lot of people still are holding on to that in their head, that their brother and sister are just little remnants of it. Because in these new movies, since they don't have that relationship, the final battle doesn't mean as much as it did in Halloween H2O, which they did perfectly. And in my opinion, that was like the perfect way to end the series, just be done right there. The fact that they don't make them brother and sister, it's just like you guys were saying, it's more like the random attacks. And then people were like, okay, here it is, the third one. It's going to be huge. And I'm thinking like, they're not even on screen together in Halloween Kills, are they? She's in the hospital like the whole time. Like they never have
there's no interaction between
them. There's no interaction. So imagine, it's like, I don't know, to have the build up there and see that, I think that would have been more,
that was prepping you for the 10 minutes they have in Halloween Ends.
Yeah. Back to what Tony was saying.
But like to me, I saw, since there wasn't that brother sister connection, I'm just like, it's not, the fact that it wasn't what everyone thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
didn't affect me as much as I'm like, well, we've already seen that done, right? Whatever, and however, like in 1998 or whatever that was. Yep. Yeah.
I just think it would have been so much better if they didn't tear down the Meyers house, and then like, what if she sees Michael going into his old house, and she almost kind of like hunts him down, and there's like a multi-room kind of fight like inside his own house versus wasn't it just in the kitchen or something and not very long, where I like their multi-room battle like they do in the first one.
Yeah. David, you were saying something?
Yeah, I was going to talk about what Tony was saying is I went through my withdrawals way back in, when they were talking about 2018 was coming out, that they weren't going to be brother and sister. So that's what I was saying, is that I've accepted it, but they also were talking about when the release of Halloween Kills was coming out, that David Gordon Green wanted to show him actually be captured, and I feel like Tony does, like that takes away his mystique. Don't do that. Yeah. I actually wrote instructions, of how I would do it. You got to just have him stand still. You got to, he can't move. It's got to let them do it, because automatically you picture him laying on the ground or crawling. You can't show weakness. So I actually, had some ideas and everything. It almost came out exactly like how I wrote it.
That's cool. So, and we're gonna kind of just in our last few minutes here. We've probably got about 10 minutes left. Can we just talk about the evolution of Laurie Strode, the character of Laurie Strode? Do you and Anthony, you mentioned this? Do we believe how her character developed over these 3 films? Is it believable? And is this a believable since it's 40 years after her original encounter? Let's go with Anthony first. What do you think about the evolution of Laurie's character? I mean, of Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Yeah, well, when I realized that, all right, Jamie Lee she did a lot of press for these movies, and I very easily and very quickly turned into, this is a movie that symbolizes the trauma that our country is in. She went everywhere talking about trauma and everything, and I feel like that's kind of really where this went wrong. But obviously, she was a strong voice. She's an EP on the movies, and I think I happen to notice it's all men that wrote it and everything, and she's the only woman. And I think what was important to her was to show a character that was traumatized and never got help for her trauma, and believed he was coming to get her in spite of that being irrational. And then, I mean, all you gotta do is watch the scenes in Kills in the hospital room. They're all like, I'm the one to kill him, and I'm the one to kill, and like Michael's just doing his thing, but they all somehow feel like connected to him somehow, and like it's personal. And then, I do feel like in this trilogy, her arc made sense because she releases all of that fear and continues to live in the town, which I still don't fully understand, but it was all about confronting fears. She is saying, as she's typing in her novel, he is the personification of evil. That falls into metaphysical explanation. What does that even mean? Can something be a personification of evil unless you believe in this kind of thing? So she believed that he went away when the town turned away from it. It got old. The older the story got, the safer she felt. She didn't think he was able to exist without people being afraid. And so, I do. I just think it was a very convoluted way to get from A to Z. And it just annoyed me the whole time. And I feel like that's a failure. I mean, think about why you're making a movie if you're not clear with your messaging. And so I think it failed, but at the end of the day, I still love it because I love the Halloween movies and I will watch everyone 100 times. But I liked it. I just think it was very convoluted and drawn out in ways that didn't have to be. Like, I love the simplicity of H2O. I'm hiding from this guy. He has every reason to come back. No one believes her, and he does, and boom, you have your ending. I would prefer that for Laurie.
Luke, what do you think?
Oh, I'm looking something up. Go somewhere else.
Oh, so Laurie's
there's research going on here.
I'm sorry. The question was Laurie's.
Yeah, talk about Laurie Strode, and then I would love for the brothers, the Burk brothers, because the Sister Trilogy and how this stacks up to what you love about the Sister Trilogy.
2018, I thought the character made total sense for someone to have gone through what she went through in the original Halloween. That's the life she would lead. And she doesn't really do much in the second one. Like I said, she's in the hospital for the most part. I think that it would have made more sense in this new one had she had not been in town, or she had moved away. Like, I can't be here, but then maybe her, what's her name? Alice, what's the granddaughter? Alice, like she's still living there. And then maybe at the end, she finally comes back, and then you have that final thing instead of her being there the whole time, I mean, this whole, that's the other thing I want to talk about. I thought that, these movies, these new ones are notorious for bringing back characters that you thought died in the other one. So like in 2018, the sheriff gets his throat cut, and then all of a sudden he's alive in the next one. And then the woman who had the drone in Halloween Kills,
Sandra. I was actually happy to see Sandra live. I was like, I liked her. It was like,
Laurie comes out of the supermarket, and she's like, "Look at my sister. Look what
I was glad to see her alive too. That made me happy.
So
and she was also in the procession at the end of Halloween Kills.
So was I alone in thinking? Was I alone in thinking that Judy Greer's character was going to survive the end of Halloween Kills? Because they did it so kind of vague. You see him doing this, and then just her being like, "Oh."
And they hardly even give her tribute, or like you'd think her daughter would become almost the new Laurie.
Laurie had a framed
Michael down
like
to me.
behind the scenes photo of her or something. It was like,
Yeah, I love Judy Greer. I almost would have loved her to be the final girl. I just love her so much.
So clearly, she, I guess, was just like, yeah, I'm not doing the other one. So then they just like let it go. So,
Yeah.
But I thought, I was expecting that. I was expecting more with the grandmother, the daughter, and then the granddaughter have that the trio there. So,
all right.
Well, if
I
we
wish that-
pretend these other newer two don't exist, then you have that in the first one, the Halloween
What's that?
2018.
Oh yeah. That was a fine way to end it too. But like every Halloween movie, it's not going to be the last one. So
Well, maybe they'll remake in years from now, pretend that was the end, and then
We're going to talk
do
about
the
that
same
in just a
thing
second.
and forget these last two.
Because me and Luke have been talking. We're going to end our discussion on where could the franchise go if it continues. But David and Michael, can you talk about Laurie's development, how it compared to the original Sister Trilogy?
But you can talk about that because I want to talk about where the franchise should go.
He wants to stay in its mindset. No, I was going to say that it's funny because, well, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant for a second, but the whole thing where like we always wanted all these things our whole lives, as Halloween fans, especially being, old men like we are. So like we wanted to see, a damaged Michael Myers mask. We always wanted to see Sheriff Brackett come back and Lindsay and stuff too, because you had Tommy Doyle in a way in 6, but it wasn't really Tommy Doyle. But by the way, we know real Tommy Doyle, but just the sidebar. The thing is that to me, it's like we got so many of the things. So are we going to have the Myers house in it? And you got the Myers house. And then and to me, and yeah, maybe it's a little vague dream or something, but even the whole idea of, if evil is alive in Michael Myers, whether you want to think it's Sam Hain or a demon or whatever, or just the spirit of Halloween in general or something. It's like the idea of it going into somebody else or him taking over somebody else has always kind of been there with the fans to a degree. So, and it's something we always wanted, and then we got it, and everybody's all like, "Oh, I hate that." And I remember a lot of people saying when it came out that I'm going off subject. I will go back to it. But that's one of the things is that everybody in 2018, there's so many people that were like, I don't like the way Laurie is. She's too militant and all this kind of stuff. And I like Laurie from H2O. So what's good about the new movie and Laurie in this, and by the way, she has said that Laurie got help. Allison says that she got help, the help that she should have got 40 years ago. She always brings up that story of Laurie would have went right back to school in a few days, and nobody, helped her. Nobody gave her any kind of like therapy or any of that kind of stuff, or pills or whatever. But she says all that stuff. So to me, I'm more accepting to that she's okay now, whereas a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people have been complaining about it. So to me, I'm like, I'm okay with it because I really didn't like, how she was in 2018. Because I'm used to that H2O version. So in this one, I feel like you get the H2O version. You get the little 17-year-old, 18-year-old Laurie Strode, even with the stuff with the pumpkin pie and the being giddy around Hawkins and stuff like that. That reminds me of the little girl that never got to grow up because Michael Myers screwed up her life and stuff. And so to me, I love all of the versions of her because I don't think it's just one version. Just like we were talking about with the knocking the chair back, is the 2018 version resurfacing because she needs to protect herself. She needs to protect Allison. So I'm fine with all of it. And I'm fine with all the different takes on it. I actually had something else to say, but I won't say. I'll let David talk about what he was going to say.
Well, David's got the next topic. If you're still on the Laurie, we're going to move into we don't have a ton of time. We're going to kind of finish up a lightning round of where can the franchise go after this. But what's the topic you wanted to say?
I was just going to say that it's weird because, when 2018 came out, everybody was like, oh, screw Halloween 2 now and screw H2O. But really, if you really think about 2018 is kind of Halloween 1 again. And then Halloween Kills is the hospital and Michael's coming, but Michael's not coming. So it's subverting what you expect. And he's going ballistic, on the outside. And then this one, again, everybody's equating it to Halloween 3, but there is a lot of H2O in it. And there's also, I don't remember, Tony would probably know this, but when H2O was originally written, it was about a copycat killer and Charlie was going to be the copycat killer, and then Michael was going to show up in the last 10 minutes of the movie and kill Charlie. And so it's weird because they kind of remade all three of the original trilogy in a way. So
interesting.
I'll let him talk now.
Okay, real quick, I just want to this right here. You got this is a graphic that David posted, and I guess you guys are getting so you kind of like ranked your Halloween films. Is that what you did? Tell me what this is right here.
No, that's just a funny meme. It's I have ranked all of them, but
you did, yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
the different timelines. Yeah.
Yeah, different timelines. My bad. So we're gonna jump into where can we go from here? I think all of us agree that there is a lot to like. I mean, believe it or not about this, I do think because of how different this film kind of knocked me back, I'm having I haven't quite gotten to where you guys, the Burk brothers, are of appreciating that level yet. It's going to take me a while to get there. Kind of like Halloween 3. It took me 40 years to get to where that one is.
Instantly.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
I loved it the first time I saw it.
I know. That's what surprised me is you, the owner of the Sister Trilogy, you liked it. And I was like, that's why I said we got to get David on the show to talk about that. I love that. I love it.
I was surprised that so many people didn't like it the next day after I saw it. All the reviews, I was like, really? Like it was fine. I don't know. Like
I saw it with our friend Brad, and we came back and immediately watched H2O to cleanse the palate.
You had to unsee what you just saw. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to start actually with down there with David, because I think you have something to say here. Where can the franchise go now? What would be the best handling? And some of us would say, how do you save the franchise? Whereas some of us would say, just how do you continue the franchise if it needs to continue, that is.
Yeah, I actually think that I've had the idea for quite some time that they should continue from part 4 and have Jamie Lloyd's story continued and erase part 5 and 6. Actually, Gail has recently come out with that she would like them to carry on from part 5, which is also fine, but I prefer it to continue after part 4.
Who said that?
Danielle has said it.
Oh, did she? Well,
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, I mean, actually, I was thinking of something today. Imagine if this current movie, if Halloween Ends, had a post-credit scene, and the camera shows, somebody's hand, and all of a sudden the hand sort of moves like somebody woke up or twitched, and then the camera slowly pans, and you see the face of Jamie Lloyd. You see Daniel Harris, and then suddenly her eyes open up, and that's the end of the movie. I think it would change everybody's perspective.
Do you mean the end of Halloween Kills?
No,
It's like a post-credit scene on Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
I mean, Halloween Ends. I'm getting.
You'll make a lot of like diehard fans really happy connecting. Connecting the.
Yeah, I think if it like if you were in Hollywood and you were watching it with an audience, I think the crowd will go wild because then they get it more.
Yeah.
I just, even though it'll be a crappy movie, I still want to know what was the Man in Black after part 6. They never finished that storyline, did they? All right, we're gonna go. This is how we're gonna do it. Let's go, Jake, Luke, and we'll end with Anthony. So, Jake, where can the series go now?
I'm not sure what they can do with Michael Myers. I'm sure we're gonna get something, but I'm gonna be that guy because I am the Halloween 3 fan. It's been 40 years since Halloween 3.
40 years.
I'm not saying a sequel to Halloween 3, but to go back to the original idea they had after Halloween 2 was let's create an anthology film series and have just individual stories. Doesn't have to be movies, it could be like Shudder or something. Every Halloween release a season of just Halloween Presents, and have like a different themed episode, new things maybe by the same. When you think of like, Tales from the Crypt back in the day, like how it was really like a core group of writers and directors who were all kind of working on it at the same time and getting these different stories and, they're redoing comic books, but something similar like that I think would be just.
Or how Ryan Murphy is doing American Horror Story right now. Like when we watched Halloween 3 last night, and there's the character who played Annie. She's playing Annie again. and a very unlikable character for crying out. Wow, that was awful.
But she was married to Tommy Lee Wallace at the time.
Yep.
So that's why I think he's in the movie.
No, but that was I like that idea of like, let's use the characters that are interested in continuing. Let's put them in a different situation and tell another. I like the idea of an anthology. I think it probably wouldn't have worked as well then, but today I think
it didn't work
for something. Yeah, that was Carpenter's idea, since he was like, not being forced, but they wanted him to make more Halloweens. It was his idea to make an anthology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I got a question for you. Even though that is a really good idea, and I've always wanted them to do that, the idea that they didn't respond to Halloween Ends, and it almost is an anthology movie, I almost wonder if they would still because everybody loved Blade Runner, but when Blade Runner 2 came out, nobody went to go see it.
They got to let fans know what they're getting. You can't surprise them.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason Halloween 3 and Halloween Kills.
You don't advertise a certain way and blindside us.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. We
like
thought we were
Halloween.
coming in to see Michael Myers' last stalking movie with Jamie Lee Curtis, and that's not what we got. We got the kitchen sink. We got the kitchen fight, and that was it. All right, sorry. Anything else, Jake, before we jump over? Oh, sorry, Anthony. What?
Okay. No, I was just going to generally say that he just seemed to go out a lot easier than we all thought. I mean, a knife in a hand, a knife in a refrigerator seemed to be all it took to kind of contain him. And whatever. I love H2O. I love H2O. My only complaint about H2O is that I just wanted it 4 minutes longer with more of a battle at the end. That's I just wanted there to be more, and there was less here. So I was disappointed I was like, oh, that was the battle, So,
I want the deep fake version of that too, where they take the real mask and put that on the H2O one. I think that would make the movie so much more iconic.
Oh my God, that's just got my heart. Yes. Let's do that. Let's have someone do that immediately.
Oh, sorry. Hey, Luke, how do you think we can improve or not improve? Where does the franchise go?
Continue. Yeah. Where does it go? To piggyback a little bit on what Jake said first, and then I have another idea, but I really think they should do some sort of anthology thing, but I think they could do it more like Stranger Things, where it's a town, and do Haddonfield would be the series, and kind of Michael Myers thing maybe happened in the past, or stuff happens before that leads up to the Michael Myers thing, kind of like a Bates Motel kind of thing, and do more with the town and with the kind of the characters of the town. I really feel like on a television aspect, they could really explore something like that. Now, as far as the feature goes, I think they should kind of go back to what kind of like they did on these newer ones, but make it only the first film happened, but go into the 80s. But Laurie Strode probably had moved away and other stuff, but maybe Michael is the boogeyman that pops up in the 80s, and do an 80s version with, mostly all new characters. Cause it's just so much thrilling when Michael's just this mysterious guy that comes out at night. Mm-hmm. It's such a simple formula of stalk, prey, kill, that's what it is. And I think they could just take the same formula and do it in different decades, that he's the boogeyman. He comes at random times when no one expects him, and then stalks and does all that stuff like he did in the first. And I feel like the fans should almost take over the franchise, because it works so well on the low budget on the first one, where fans or people like us in Hollywood could write a killer script, get some known actors we maybe know, and just make our own version in kind of that gritty way, but in a simplistic way like they did in the original. And I feel almost like it should be given over to the fans to make these excellent fan film versions.
Luke and I were even talking, there's room within the existing canon, for lack of a better word, to tell additional stories if we want to. For example, in Halloween 1, he escapes, and then he comes to kill his sister. What happened during that night? We were talking, that's if Michael was out to kill his family, he needs to, let's show the movie where he goes back for his mom and dad. And where is that? And that could easily fit within the existing canon, or things like that. What if we told a Michael Myers story from different perspectives? It doesn't have to always be Jamie Lee Curtis's story. And we'd eventually run out of options there, but something like that. If 2018 had left Michael missing for 40 years, there's beautiful, storytelling you could have been doing for 40 years instead of they lock him away. All right, I do want to throw it over to Anthony. Anthony, where can we take the franchise now if it needs to go anywhere?
I'm gonna be the downer here. I think it needs to end. I just think it's like it needs to just we have 13 movies. The only thing that I thought, I mean, because like Rob Zombie, like it's just imagine you see a trailer, Michael is back. What is the first thing you're gonna do? You're gonna be like, okay, like you're gonna take a deep breath and see like why. I don't know, like Pretty Little Liars Original Sin I thought was pretty good. Cruel Summer a couple years ago was fantastic. Chucky is amazing. I think if anything, it would go to TV, go to some series and tell a brand new story about the boogeyman and a brand new characters, and kind of just have the boogeyman revisit Haddonfield in a series. That's what I'd want to see. I really do. I think, like when you think about the original Halloween, yes, they had the test with the mask, and Tommy Lee Wallace did something with the clown mask, and then he took the Kirk mask, and and they had a little. But can you imagine how many meetings there were about the mask in these movies? Like there was 50 meetings about how it could be burned, and like I think it was very self-indulgent. It was too thought out for some weird reason. I hate saying that, but it was just like, it was very seriously considered. And I think Carpenter did it right. Like they rushed the production with a really great idea, and they had all these different ingredients that made it great. So 13 movies later, no one's been able to duplicate that. There's been lots. I love the Halloween movie. I love Halloween 2, but it doesn't hold a candle to the original. So I think it would just be best if it died on the feature, like on the silver screen, and maybe lived in more novels. I know someone who's writing a novel tie-in to the movie My Bloody Valentine.
Oh,
the
wow.
original 1981 My Bloody Valentine is my friend Armando, and I'm reading the manuscript, and it is amazing. And you're like, oh my God, this makes the movie so much better. It adds to the movie. I think maybe that's where Halloween should live, is in different mediums. Halloween Ends kind of felt like a graphic novel, did it not? Like, like these Corey Cunningham and like meeting him in a tunnel. It more felt like if it was a graphic novel, I think it would have resonated more. It would have been like, oh, I kind of get it. And it feels like that kind of, so I think they've run out of idea.
And exactly, start as its own first thing and not just bringing that in randomly to the third. I think, like you said, and like we've been talking about, that's much more brilliant of an idea of exploring his story from the beginning and then letting that evolve.
How did Michael come back 40 years later? Or maybe this Corey kid was the thing that did it. The problem was it was last. It wasn't first. And so, yeah, I would rather see it. I'd be happy to never see another Halloween movie on the silver screen, but I'd love a series, or I'd love some novels. That's kind of what I would say.
Yeah, I actually think they should wait at the very least 5 years before doing anything else.
Yeah.
Well,
and then like the best directors at the time to make their take on a trilogy and keep doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if it is a trilogy, we'll see. Yeah. Like,
and also they keep calling it a trilogy, but it's really 4 movies, right? It's like, it's so confusing. It's kind of like, well, it's not a trilogy. You have to acknowledge it's like parts 2, 3, and 4 of a quadrilogy, whatever. What would you call it?
Quadrilogy. The box that's coming out, Tony, it says it's a trilogy. The box that's coming out.
Yeah, it is, but it isn't.
Hey guys, thank you so much for jumping on with us tonight and talking about how Halloween Ends. I keep on calling it Halloween Kills. They could have gotten better with the names. Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. So
I didn't like the name. I didn't, when I saw it was like Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. That sucks. But that was just my general. But I actually like Halloween Kills. The Halloween Ends is a little like, I don't know. In Hollywood, they're here. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's this enormous billboard for Halloween Ends.
Right, Hollywood and Highland.
Yeah. And that was cool. That was neat to see. I mean, back in like the 80s, you would never have seen. I mean, this thing is huge. It's like the size of a building. Yeah. It's not just like a big billboard. It's like this enormous thing. And I was like, that's really cool. Like people, like I just was like, everyone is seeing this. And when I saw Halloween Kills that night, I was at the Magic Castle, and one of the guys there said, and I was rushing out the door. I'm like, there's a new Halloween movie. And the guy that books the acts there was like, can you please explain to me why people love blood and gore and everything? And I was about to answer him, and there was a new audience coming in, and I couldn't answer him, but I wanted to say these movies help people. They love them. They're therapeutic. And like, I was going to go to bat for Michael, but after the trilogy is over now, I'm a little like, okay, I can take a break.
Just real quick, when you said they're therapeutic, I remember back at San Diego Comic-Con right before the original 2018 movie came out, Jamie Lee Curtis was hosting a panel. She was up there on a panel, and a guy got up there and he was speaking to her. He had to ask a question, and he goes, "I just want you to know, my house was broken into." And the guy looked like he appeared as if he had perhaps some challenges and some mental challenges, but he was so sincere. And he goes, "I remembered your character from Halloween, and it gave me strength when somebody was breaking into my house." And he broke down and he started. I have the video, right? I don't want to show it.
Oh my God! Wow.
I have the bit, and he broke down. Jamie Lee Curtis got off the stage. She went down there, pulled him aside, and just hugged him. And for like 10 minutes, the panel had stopped. And Yvette Nicole Brown was the one emceeing the panel. She goes, "Hey y'all, we're doing church." It was so great. It was like the best panel, and it shows that, you know, there is something kind of cool about these movies, and some people do get strength from them. I'm not going to say, "Hey, this is the movie that gave me strength," but I have a lot to admire about the films. No matter where they go, they've always been so much better than the Friday the 13th schlocky films. Yeah. It's because it was the stalking, and even this film, which I was not the biggest fan of, they still did take some cool ideas, like the stalk. Even Corey, he wasn't just a slasher. There was something about him that they were trying to investigate, and how Michael was mentoring him. Again, maybe I'll like it more when I see it later, because I will watch it again. But anyways, thank you guys so much for being with us tonight. I'm Jake. Where can people find you online?
Oh, were you gonna say something? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say something, David?
No.
You're just saying thanks for having us.
No, we're not done yet. Jake, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at the Jacobus System.
All right. The Burk brothers, where can people find out where you guys are at and find some cool artwork about the Sister Trilogy?
Yeah, it's just Halloween, the Sister Trilogy on Facebook and Insta David Burk.
All right. Mr. Anthony Massey.
Just go to my website. I'm on Instagram, but I never use it. So it's just masseymedia.net.
MASI media.net. Check it out. Cheeseman.
You can find me on thescareguy.com and on social media at Cheese on Couch. And you can also find me 40 years from now discussing the next Halloween film. But I'm sure it'll be a lot sooner than that.
Let's hope
Halloween starts again.
Halloween starts. That's right. The new century. Thank you guys for coming on tonight, and so we can prove to people we don't all have to like everything at the same level, but we still love the franchise. We did this without being toxic. Isn't this great? All right, everybody. Have an awesome Halloween week. Happy Halloween, everybody. Bye-bye.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.